Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, doubling as to Berlin and back for the Euros. And we have another Euro special podcast for you tonight. We are proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher in Hull. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight I'm joined by Will, Joe, and Ant to discuss a tight England victory and then all of the other results as well. But firstly, we'll talk about it because it's some Hull City news. Ryan Alsop's move to Birmingham City has been confirmed. Joe, you were going through the joyous reaction gifs on Twitter. Are you happy with that? You're muted. You're still muted.
Brilliant.
There you are.
As we discussed off air, that's a nightmare. As we discussed off air, whilst Will was on his way back from the pub, Nathaniel and I, the way. Look, did Allsop make some mistakes last season? Yes. Did he also win us some points last season, especially when he first came in against Leeds? A couple of brilliant saves there. Man of the match against Stoke. Some saves, good saves against Sunderland away. Middlesbrough away was a couple of big ones as well. So, look, it's a one and done for Allsop. And look, I just sort of think as soon as Rosinha was moved on and as soon as Adjun sort of said what he said, he was the writing was on the wall, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. And I think Birmingham's a good move for him. They've lost Neil Etheridge. They've still not agreed a contract extension with John Ruddy. He's a goalkeeper who's good with his feet. And if Chris Davis wants to play that kind of way at Birmingham in League One and get them out of that division, then I think he'll be suited to it. And made the point off air that it would be absolutely hilarious now if Tim Walter sees Ivo Panda in training and Matt Ingram has the number one shirt and starting spot for all of next season.
No, Lottatala.
You know what? Tim Lottatala or Harvey Cartwright as number two, or even as number one.
I mean, I said this on Umberside earlier today. I think it'll be Lottatala as Cartwright as number two behind Panda.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. So I think what you said, Joe, that he's
And I will
best
also say, sorry, Nathaniel, I will also say for a bit of balance on the whole Adjun thing, Ant made the point as well when we were talking off air, that is it a good thing Adjun talks passionately and speaks like we do on here? Yes, it is. It shows he genuinely cares about the football club, right?
Yeah, but he can show he cares in other ways
Let him finish, Nathaniel.
than slating his own players.
That's exactly what I was getting onto.
Right.
He can also go about expressing certain things in a way that isn't him publicly criticising our number one goalkeeper for pretty much all of last season on a very public forum with a live audience and a lot of us sat watching armed with keyboards at home.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Fair?
And are you happy to see the back of Allsop?
Yeah, I think I don't dislike him as a person. Like Nathaniel said, like Joe said, sorry, that he started off really well when he first came in, and then just seemed to lose his way. I think he kept his place in the team based on what he could do with his feet when we were losing games based on what he couldn't do with his hands. When you spend a couple of mil on a goalkeeper that's come with rare reviews, that was one of the best performing goalkeepers in their league. You expect him to come in, especially when your number one starts to drop some clangers and cost us points. And realistically, we missed out on the playoffs by 3 points. Had Panda been in goal for some of those games, might we've got in the top six? We'll never know. But realistically, we lost a lot of points because of Allsop and some mistakes. And it wasn't just solely on Allsop. Obviously, we had games where we missed loads of chances and stuff. So there are other reasons why we missed out on the top six. But the fact of the matter is we did lose games or ended up drawing games because of mistakes that Allsop made. So, realistically, I think it's probably the best for both that he moves on, because it's quite clear that he's not rated here anymore. Like we say, with the owner coming out and he didn't necessarily slate him. I think that was a bit maybe far-fetched. He came out and he just basically asked the question, and like as fans do, is, you know, when a player's not performing, should they maybe have a break outside the team to regain their confidence, kind of thing. He didn't say Allsop was bad. He just asked the question like fans do. So yeah, I mean, realistically, I think his probably time here was already over by that point. So yeah, good luck to him at Birmingham, but at least we'll most likely see Panda next season and see what he's all about.
Can I just say quickly on that personal point, nothing against him as a person, that's a big thing. As fans, we are allowed to criticise how players play and decisions that owners, managers, coaches, etc. make about the football clubs we hold so dear. But just because we buy a ticket or we pay into, let's call it the system, it doesn't mean we sort of have the right to shout whatever abusive shit we want at footballers. I think there's got to be sort of a distinction between the personal sort of side of it and saying, look, they could have done this better, that better, etc., and criticising them purely on performance. But when it gets into personal territory and players mentally and their families, and we saw this with Liam Rossigna last season as well with Happy, whatever it was. And I think there does just need to be a distinction between things getting personal and keeping it solely sort of, okay, you did X wrong, you did Y wrong, you could have done Z better, whatever, and not going into personal attack, which fans from all fan bases are guilty of. And I'm not calling out any City fan in particular here, because fans of all clubs can be guilty of it. But I just think there does need to be that kind of clarity, because at times with Allsop last season, it got into the territory of bridging onto personal, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Very well said. It was pretty rubbish, though. Bless him. I think top of League One, where he's able to use his ability on the ball, going for a promotion season, but not being in the Championships, probably his level. So good luck to him. And, it's not very much money, but I guess it will help for FFP ever so slightly. But it's the Euros, and that's much more exciting than talking about a goalkeeper who's just left. So I don't know whether we're going to touch on every game, but we'll start with the opening.
Well, I've written notes for every game, probably fucking better.
Okay. Scotland, I think they get battered everywhere they go.
I was going to suggest we talk about England first, so people can actually hear us talk about England. And
that's
then
a good
talk
idea.
about the other game.
I just wanted to get in that jibe about Scotland before we...
We're getting jibes in about Scotland. It's in the future. Don't you worry.
We will get to Liam Cooper and the gang very
Yes.
soon, I'm sure of it. But I think Will's decision of talk about the Three Lions first, because that's ultimately, we are all English and we are all England fans. So I think, we'll go with Will's first, I think.
So it was a very good start, as tends to happen in these knockout games for England. We went 1-0 up through Jude Bellingham, who, again, just absolutely incredible. And then sort of tailed off for the second or the last 60 minutes of the game. We basically dropped off the... we've had a lot of players that have been not at full fitness, so that's part of it. But, 3 points on the board, clean sheet against Serbia, probably the toughest game we'll have in the group. But very concerning performance, the way we kept the ball. So, Will, you're sort of making a face at that?
The strongest team in the group thing. I think there could be a team that's maybe slightly more stronger than them. But it was a game. It was a game of two halves. It was a game of two halves. Where first half I thought we were fantastic. We were dominant. We put our stamp on the ball. We controlled the possession. We controlled the play. Without doing too much chance wise, but it was an efficient sort of performance up to that point. Obviously, Bellingham was running the show midfield. And obviously Saka was just tearing Pavlovic to shreds out on the wide, and we could have easily had 2 or 3 in the half before it even went to half time. But yeah, that second half, I'm not sure why, but I mentioned it earlier, but I don't get why Southgate has to be so reactive instead of proactive, and why he doesn't try and change the game himself and push the team on rather than just react to whatever the opponents have done and try and letting them get into the game and then trying to react to it. He should be not letting them into the game and constantly adapting the team to foil it. And it was another case of it where Serbia bring on Luka Jovic and Dusan Tadic, and suddenly we can't get the ball out of our half pretty much at all.
I think the worst thing...
Kane was in Milenkovic's pocket pretty much all game, apart from one moment. He had a great game. Foden was non-existent. So those two outlets were gone. Obviously, Saka in the second half, the double marked upon him. They couldn't get the ball to him either. So going forward, we're done at that current point, and it was relying on resolute defending. Ironically, probably what we went into the tournament thinking was our weakest point ended up being probably our strongest part of the game in this opening game, because I thought Stearns and Gay, for the most part, were superb.
Just on Gay quickly,
He was very good.
Everyone who was sort of doubting, is he up to it? He was incredible.
I always had him. I think when we actually went on about it, I think we all had him in our starting 11s when we did our preview. All of us are on there.
Well, we don't have another choice who's played as many caps, I'd say.
He was incredibly calm, confident, and I've got no worries about him. There was a bit of a worry when Trippier went down injured, because I thought, oh God, who do we put there?
That was scary.
To right back.
Having to rely on Luke Shaw, who's never the fittest player in the first place, to keep him free from injury.
But then Trippier, it just looked as though he'd cramped up, so it was sort of fine. But I'm sure we'll talk about Foden later, but I just sort of want to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold first of all. And I thought in flashes in midfield, he was okay. Some good runs, good technical play on the ball at times, but there were a couple of times where he got caught a little bit. And I did notice him naturally sort of drifting out to the right in that first half especially. And I saw someone make the point, I can't for the life of me remember who made the point, but Trent in midfield, Gallagher came on and did quite well in one of Southgate's reactive situations. To both of their credit, he did quite well. And we've got Gallagher, Mainu came on, Adam Wharton there as well. If Trent Alexander-Arnold was meant to be in midfield, why did Jurgen Klopp spend 100 million on midfielders last summer rather than shuffling Trent forward and buying another right back instead?
He is a right back, isn't he? He's not played as many games he's only played in midfield or started there for England, so you'd expect a few mistakes.
So do we expect, and you're sort of a bit more, I think anti-Southgate's the wrong wording for what I'm trying to say.
Concerned.
But than the rest of us. So I want to see how, from your perspective, you think taking Trent out and putting in someone like Mainu, Gallagher, etc. for the Denmark and the Slovenia game, how that would impact us. And go for it.
The Trent situation's an interesting one, because I think he just cannot defend. So if you're putting him in right back, and this is why he doesn't play right back for England, because
he's a wing back.
If you watch him in the huge games for like Liverpool and teams like that, big games against really good teams with really attacking, creative wingers, he gets absolutely run all over. And I think if you play him in right back, for what you gain offensively, you get absolutely nothing defensively. So I think the logic to put him in midfield was because we all know the quality of pass that he's got, the vision that he has, and they were hoping maybe that Rice alongside him would give him that bit of solidity to just be that player that we can have as the outlet to play balls in behind and things like that. But then again, Southgate doesn't play that way. We don't play in behind. We don't ask questions. We play the safe sideways pass or out wide. Like it's watching England at the minute is very similar to what we were watching with Hull City this season. It was, it was safe. We didn't really ask too many questions. We get the ball into good positions, and would rather than putting it in the box, we would turn around and start again. And I just feel like when you've got Trent in your team, you need to be more. If you're going to play him in midfield, you've got to be aggressive in your attacking, because that's the only way you're going to get the best out of him in that position, is utilising his passing and his vision. And then playing the way we do, and then playing him in midfield, it doesn't make much sense. But then again, it's just a case of similar to how with Foden, with Jude and Main on the left, we're doing what most England managers have done in before. We've got really good players that they just want to put on the pitch, and it doesn't matter where they are.
Lampard,
another
Scholes,
situation.
Gerrard, right?
Yeah, like Scholes, Gerrard, all that era where we just want that player on the pitch, regardless of what position he plays in, just because they're a good player. And realistically, like when you say, Wharton and Mainu, because they're both so young, he's maybe reluctant to put them in the starting 11 because it's a lot of expectation on young heads. I know Bellingham's young, but he's an anomaly and he's just absolutely brilliant, and the way he plays and everything like that, and how mature he is. But I would have said that your better option would have been having Gallagher alongside him, and I know Gallagher gets a lot of, I would say, undeserved criticism from England fans because I think his job
pretty
is
solid.
Yeah, I like him as a midfielder. He's industrious, he's busy, he wins fouls, he's gritty, he likes to get stuck in, and playing someone alongside Rice like that gives us a lot more stability in the middle. So maybe he was just playing with the Trent in the middle against Serbia because he thought we'd have more of the ball and would benefit from that. And then maybe see it switch up against the likes of Denmark, and then you might see him back in for Slovenia or something like that. It might be just a tactical rotation. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Trent in the middle. If you're going to play safe sideways passing, you've got to be using him to ask questions.
I think
Foden being out on the left as well is an issue with the formation rather than the picking him, because as we did in that preview, you play 4-3-3 with him and Bellingham in the midfield as 2 10s, then he's in his position.
Yeah.
But then it's from Southgate's perspective,
that's too attacking for Southgate to even think about.
It's balancing the team, isn't it? And I think when we get to 2026, if Gareth Southgate stays on after this Euros, which I think is unlikely,
I hope not.
I think whether we win the tournament or not, I think he's gonna either go out on a high or thought, right, I can't get any more out of these players. I've rebuilt the national team. Whoever comes in after me is going to have an amazing set of players to work with and go and try and win.
Foundation,
yeah. So I think if we're still playing this sort of system with sort of Rice and someone to sit in a double pivot alongside him, Kobbie Mainoo is obviously the longer term solution to that now. But it's just at this stage of the tournament, like Ant said, at this stage of the tournament, at this stage of his career, he's so inexperienced. And although he's of a similar age to Bellingham, like you said, Bellingham is an anomaly. He moved to Real Madrid when he was, he moved to Dortmund when he was, 16, 17? Like, he moved to Dortmund when he was younger than I am now, which seems mental to say.
You're very young, Joe.
I am very young. So, and then on the Foden thing, I liked how in the first half, him and Bellingham together just sort of had the freedom of the pitch. And Foden was drifting inside, Bellingham was going wherever he wanted. And I thought, right, this is somewhere to build from here. If Phil Foden's allowed to do that and Trippier pushes on, or whoever's at left back pushes on, then you're essentially letting him have the freedom to move into the central areas where he's so good for Man City. But it just seemed to evaporate quite quickly after the first sort of 20.
It's a problem with cohesion. And when you watch other games, and I think Germany are the best example of this. So they didn't play with a natural striker. They played with sort of like these natural number 10s that like to switch. And the rotation aspect of it, and it's something that Man City do really well. So they've got all their attacking players that are in and around the box in that respect. They don't stay in one position. They might have a formation, but they will switch. So they'll have the ball, one will cut inside, then someone else has to fill that space. And that's what the best teams do in those situations. We don't do that. So when we've got such an unbalanced, unnatural left-hand side, because you've got Trippier, who's a right-footed player in left-back, and then we've got Foden, who either plays off the right or is a number 10 playing on the left. The left-hand side wasn't natural. It was unbalanced. And we don't have that sort of natural sort of rotation aspect. There's no understanding between the players. And Foden's problem is, and England's problem is at the minute, is that Foden's best position is a number 10, but Bellingham's best position is a number 10. So
hence why I suggested the 4-3-3 with 2 10s.
Yeah.
It's too attacking, I think, later in the tournament as well. I'm not really sure I see the
problem though. The thing is, our team, our strength is attacking. So why don't we play to our strengths?
We did it the World Cup. I'm surprised at how sort of bad we were, because I thought at the World Cup we were scoring lots of goals, and actually I thought, Trent's the only major change that's not been forced is that we've got Trent or maybe a Gallagher instead of Henderson. So I think we are even more attacking now, but we just did not see it on Tuesday.
Well,
I don't know how
Bellingham-
Foden did play the full 90 because you've got players like Anthony Gordon on the bench and Eberechieze on the bench who could have been brought on for him and would have at least given something more because obviously they're fighting for a place. Like you look, Bowen came on and instantly had an impact. Why didn't he do that with one of them? I don't get it. Why he brings on Mainu for Bellingham in the last minute and he's like, what? Why?
That was just get Kobe Mainu on the pitch. He's played a game at the Euros, really. I think that. And
You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be playing players just to get them a game at the Euros. You should be playing players to win games.
We have the players to not have to react to what Serbia are doing. And I think that the most concerning thing for me is that, like City, all season, what do? We have the two centre-backs on the 6-yard box and we pass out the goal kick like that and we control the game. Whereas, like, if we'd given the ball away a few times, I'd understand changing it. But for about 35 minutes into the game, Pickford just kept slamming up the pitch. And Kane, who's this experienced, he's the captain, isn't intelligent enough to stay up the pitch, kept dropping deep. And I think, I can't assume Southgate is just literally telling the players to kick the ball as far up the pitch as possible. So I think at a certain point you have to think, the players haven't taken responsibility there, but I'm pro Southgate, but last night was the most disappointed I've seen us with a performance, I think, because the opening matches, like the last Euros, we played pretty poorly in the group stage, but by the second game when we drew with Scotland, and that sort of tough derby match in the rain, and we've already qualified at that point with 4 points, it's not as bad as the first game, but we got through it. It can only get better. I think the phrase is going to be, for this whole tournament, we're going to grow into the tournament and grow together. So I wouldn't make any changes because I think I like Trent in midfield. I like the idea of it, and I don't really see the point of not letting them grow into it and build that chemistry together because you do want your best players on the pitch, I think.
I don't think that team with Trent in midfield came up against a France or a Germany or a Spain. That midfield would get torn to pieces. You need someone who's actually a midfielder in the midfield against teams like that.
When Trent got caught on the ball in that first half,
and Mitrovic just sent it wide,
He put it wide. A Kylian Mbappe buries that, and Alvaro Morata.
I don't know. He didn't miss a sitter last night against Austria.
Well, yeah. I think a Florian Wirtz or a Jamal Musiala or a Füllkrug.
You reading
Weghorst.
I think they score. I think they score that. So it's. Well, I'll just say on another. I pick up on something you said, Nathaniel. Pretty much qualified on 4 points at the last Euros. Now we've won a game. We are pretty much absolutely going to go through.
It would have to be an astronomical failure from this point onwards.
So it's just, But because the other game ended in a draw, that's if we beat Denmark, it is categorically done.
Yeah.
Then we've just got, it's just sort of where we finish. Now, I will say this, I'm not going to jinx it because the Euros format is stupid with 24 teams.
It is.
We are through to the group stage, to the knockout stage.
But to be fair, we knew that before the Serbia game. Like these group stages, we've done very well recently under Southgate. And you'd like to think that we won't bottle it in the round of 16. You'd like to think, and this isn't. I'm not saying that we're going to get there, but really, with our expectations, our tournament really begins with the massive pressure from the quarterfinal stage onwards. And I'm thinking we use the 4 games to build the chemistry.
It's when you come up against a top 10 nation.
Yeah.
The history of us under Southgate is we tend to do quite well in tournament football against the teams we expect to do well against and should do well against. But then you come up against a decent nation, that's when we go out, because tactically he's just not there. He doesn't know how to get the best out of that squad of players against another decent. What is it, 4 or 5 wins out of 20 odd against the top 10? That is abysmal. That is really poor for England. That's really bad. And if you're going to win tournament football, you've got to beat those teams. And that's the worrying aspect, is we don't tend to do that.
Yeah. And the opportunity was there. I don't want to dwell on it because it's been and gone. It's been 3 years, Joe. But
mute him now.
It's the same problem we saw against Serbia that we had in the final against Italy.
And
we
Croatia.
go ahead early, and then nothing happens after that when we've got opportunities to kill games.
Yeah. It is typical. At least those 2 times, you think those are semi-final against Croatia, Italy. But I don't really want to go over it either. But you're quite right. It was exactly
right.
Right.
We need to stop being negative because we won 1-0 and kept a clean sheet and got 3 points.
Yeah, we did. Like all the
At
facts.
the end of the day,
good.
I would argue there was as many positives as there were negatives coming out of that game.
Well, I mean, I'd like to ask
It's
that
easy
because
to focus on the negatives.
without saying Jude Bellingham, because he's clearly the positive. He's our best player, and he's going to be the captain as soon as Kane is not the captain anymore. So what were the positives bar Jude Bellingham?
We said Gay, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Gay had a good game. Robert Rice had a good game. That first half, I think we looked very good going forward. We could have easily had 2 or 3 goals. Like Walker had a good game. Saka was destroying his wing back until they doubled up on him.
Bowen made a good impact.
Bowen going off the bench looked good. You
That was a
used
nice
to Gallagher looked decent off the bench.
For us Hull fans, that was lovely to see him. I'm surprised that he was ahead of Eze and Palmer and Gordon.
They're more left-sided, really.
Yeah.
That's why I would have thought one of them would have come on for Foden at some point. But Bowen's more the right-sided replacement.
It wouldn't surprise me if Phil Foden gets dropped, you know.
Oh, it would shock me. He's the Premier League best
I would
player
be
of the
surprised.
season.
I would be surprised.
You've got to give him a chance to, because
but the thing is we play Bellingham in that number 10 role, but he doesn't play a number 10 role, so I don't know why we do that. I would have Rice and Bellingham as the 2 sort of box to box behind.
Bellingham can do it all, can't
Bellingham
he?
Tracks back. He tracks back and does defending, and then if you want a number 10, then put Foden there. Let Bellingham and Rice do the box to box work, because Bellingham's still going to do what Bellingham does. No matter where you put him in the middle, he's going to do what he does. It don't matter where on the pitch, what position you tell him to play. He's box to box because he loves doing that. He loves running about and tracking back.
At the World Cup, and he did play deeper for a little while. Did he start? Yeah. He started the first group game, didn't he? Again, Iran. Have I got that right? And Mason Mount was more advanced. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I think that might be right.
So, but then Henderson came in and what have you.
The thing is, though, Bellingham is a number 10, and he's played number 10 pretty much the entire last 3 years at all the clubs he's been at. So why would you then put him further deep and limit what his best position is? It's like
because the number 10 on track back.
I'm not sure
he's playing a number 10, but he's not doing a number 10 role. So you can play him in the 10. That's fine. But if no matter where in midfield you put him, he's still going to do what he does. That's what I'm saying. He even as a number 10, he was tracking back and defending and was often deeper than Trent because he wants to come back and get on the ball. That's the kind of player he is. He wants to influence a game. So he's not going to stick to a number 10 role. And that's why Kane was so isolated, because Bellingham was always tracking back and being in a different place. So if you want to play that way, have Bellingham and Rice as your 2 box-to-box midfielders, which is what they do. They'll run forward, contribute, they run back and defend. Have Foden as the one who stays more advanced, then you've got 2 outlets. You get the best out of Foden because he's in the centre, and Bellingham does what Bellingham does anyway. It doesn't matter where you play him.
I think there's this weird thought that maybe if we played Southgate as a number 10, Foden as a number 10, that we'd lose all structure. But if Man City play him there, obviously we're not as good as Man City, but the idea is that we're one of the favourites, right? And I don't see Man City getting overrun in midfield and conceding 5 every game because Foden's just so useless.
I think that's more because Rodri's so good as well.
Yeah, but we have Rice, who he's not Rodri.
Yeah. But whoa, no, don't even try that one.
No,
I like Declan Rice, but he's not Rodri.
He's not Rodri, but he is probably the second or third best second best holding player in the Premier League?
He's at least the second best holding midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah, so it's not, and at international level, because now it's the Champions League is the main thing. Teams at international level aren't as well structured. You can probably get away with Rice being ever so slightly worse than Rodri. So give it a go. Give it a go against Slovenia, because apparently they're dreadful. That's what I heard from the commentary.
They are, though. They gave Denmark quite a good game.
Well, yeah, I mean, which way do you look at that? Do you think Denmark are not as good as we think, or Slovenia are better, or are they just both not very good?
When we get to it, I imagine.
I think a bit of both at this stage.
Yeah, but well,
someone asked me about Romania-Ukraine yesterday. Is that Romania being absolutely out of their skin, amazing, shocking everyone, or is it them overperforming? And
what you mean? You mean the dark horse is Romania?
And then just being and Ukraine, is it Romania being great, or is it Ukraine being terrible? And I just said, look, after one group game, you can't really tell, but Romania gave a really, really good account of themselves.
I'd say it's always both, to be honest, isn't it? You can't beat someone 3-0 if the other team are good. I don't think that happens. And you can't win 3-0 if you're dreadful.
And we stop moaning about England then, winning.
Well, yeah, I mean, closing comments, we've won. We're almost through.
We won clean sheet, good defensively.
Yeah. And,
it's not the end of the world. Stop acting like it's the end of the world.
I'm sure we'll be better. I'd like to think we're going to be better, but
I will just say I have been sort of driving the negative conversation, I think, and I am, but I am still very much of Will's opinion that we are only the third team. We're one of three teams to keep a clean sheet. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's unhappy that we've lost. I think it's just the manner of the victory. It wasn't convincing, was it? You want as a fan, you want to be filled with optimism.
If we'd won 4-0, wouldn't we get carried away?
The first 35 minutes, it wasn't optimistic, was it? It wasn't. I didn't come away after that second half and thought, bloody hell, we've done well there. We're going to do well in this tournament. I thought, Jesus, if we come up against a good nation, we're going to get tonked. And that's the worry. Like, yes, we've won and it was good. Realistically, it's against Serbia in the group stage. And it was 1-0 and it wasn't convincing. So that's the worry. But yeah, ultimately in tournament football, the win's the most important aspect. But would we have got that 1-0 win against a decent side?
All I'll say is, to end it off, as my final comment is, how did Argentina's first game at the World Cup go? They lost 1-0 to Saudi Arabia. So you can't read so much into the opening game that it dictates the entire tournament.
I mean, it's 7 games, isn't it? If you win a tournament or get to the final, it's 7 games. And really, how many teams that have actually won a tournament have actually been the very best team? If it was a league season, it would be a different winner, probably, for a lot of them. It's a lot of it's luck. And yeah, if we win every game 1-0.
A Nations League.
Don't even think about it.
Does that mean Spain are the best team in Europe? I don't know.
Well, when we get onto them, they're one of the best performers based on the first game.
Anyway, I know we said we're closing comments. Thoughts on this lineup for the Denmark game?
Jesus Christ Almighty!
This is just a joke. I've put 4 centre backs on. Right, quite enough of that. So
Southgate would appreciate that, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I mean, there are a lot of games to get through. So Scotland got absolutely tonked 5-1.
That's what we want to start with, the peak.
Yeah. Germany look very good.
Germany looking absolutely superb against Scotland. I know it's only Scotland, but they did have good qualifying. Like I said, they beat Spain in qualifying, and they looked all right for the most part. Going into the tournament, and then they arrive and they shit the bed.
Well, they do have the worst form in Europe, I think, haven't they? They've only won one of the previous 10 games, so I think, they beat Spain, but that was a long time ago now.
They still had you can't rule them out because of how good they were in qualifying still. They still had a good time. No. They're not to be...
What I'll say on the Scotland one is Germany looked great, Scotland looked dreadful, whatever. Angus Gunn,
Yeah, it was nice seeing Angus Gunn have a shocker, and that was delightful. My personal favourite was Ryan Porteous. Thinking it'd be a good idea to 2-foot Ilkay Gundogan in the middle of the box Does that make sense?
A shocking tackle. Shocking.
What I would have preferred, though, is Antonio Rudiger to score his own goal first, and then the Scotland morale just be sky high for them to just get obliterated. I would have preferred that to just the total battering they got through the game.
No, I don't know. I was very happy with what I saw. Like I said, Germany looked great. Wirtz and Musiala, who going into the tournament already had great seasons at Leverkusen and Munich. I'm not surprised that they were the standout players for that Germany side because they're so good.
Yeah. And to Germany, the new favourites.
I don't know. I think it was a very good win against Scotland. But I think what Germany did show us is how to rotate really attacking creative players at the top in a correct fashion. The Wirtz,
bringing up England.
Musiala rotation up top just absolutely destroyed them. And I don't know why we don't implement something similar with us. But listen, like Germany, we all know are a good side and they've got real quality. But and I think this tournament has shown that a lot of the bigger nations aren't going to get an easy time against the lesser nations. But Scotland just, like Will said, they just turned up and were just awful. And I think that, realistically, they could still get something from the next two games, but you can't sort of underestimate the morale change you can have after
they're the worst team I've seen.
Like that. Yeah,
they are the worst team I've seen at the tournament.
Very enjoyable, but I think Scotland are going to have a real problem now. And Porteous might have just played his last game at the Euros as well, which is quite funny.
What do you mean? He might have, Even if he gets back from suspension, they might not start him. But it's funny, going into the tournament, there was that feeling. You did see that opinion, which I found, in hindsight, was hilarious, though. Ooh, Scotland might get some. Germany haven't been good for a while. They've not had a good time at tournaments recently. Ignoring the fact that, like I say, they're under Nagelsmann now, who's a much improved manager from Joachim Löw, and he's had time now to sort of sort his side out. There's plenty of young players in there that haven't played recently, like Musiala starting a lot more. Wirtz, superb players, and they're at home. They're going to be in the best possible mood morale-wise because they've got the
atmosphere really helping. Yeah.
You mentioned Scotland's next two games, and I think it brings us nicely onto Hungary, who a lot of people had down as their dark horses. Me being one of them. Dominic Szoboszlai not really turning up, and the Swiss turning it on.
Switzerland look really good.
They all look very good.
They are pretty much, they always get to the round of 16 and lose.
I was going to say, Switzerland are regular get out of the group stages.
But they have some very good experienced players at this level, and they've done it in tournaments before. I
did think Hungary did show promise, and they showed glimpses of what they'd shown at the previous Euros.
Second half.
But in the second half. But you could, I think, 3-1 maybe slightly flattered to deceive Switzerland. They were very good, but maybe they didn't have to win that comfortably because it was a last-minute goal that won them it. But they did look promising, and I think, they're probably the likely top two out of Germany, Switzerland, because they have to play each other in the final game. They'll probably both be through by that point.
And Switzerland were really good. Are Switzerland the new favourites?
Like Will said, Switzerland are effective at what they do. They're a good team, but they just kind of lack that bit of quality to really stick it to the bigger nations when they get to the knockout rounds. But they always get out of the group stage. They're good at what they do, and it was a convincing win. I think they'll be dead sets to go through personally, but like you say, I think it'll be another case of round of 16 and bye-bye again. But I think they'll take that. I think they're happy with that, aren't they?
Lastly from me on this one, Peter Galassi, ex-Tiger in goal for Hungary, of course.
Yes.
But what is this woke nonsense? Hungary at a major tournament and the goalkeeper's not wearing trackies.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, the game's gone. The game's gone. It's all over.
Like Anne said, Switzerland, maybe not the greatest top, but they're their key linchpins of players like Xhaka and Akanji, who are deeper players who sort of control that part of the field. Particularly Xhaka, the way it's been. Yeah, rather than their attack. But Switzerland, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they'll win against Scotland tomorrow. Yeah. And then probably lose to Germany, but go through.
So the next match after that, Spain beating the World Cup semi-finals 3-0. And are Spain the new favourites?
I think Spain are one of those. That,
I think it could be, to be fair.
Yeah, I
It
think
very much could be.
they've probably not gone into it as one that people have singled out to be sort of favourites to win it. You know, people have mentioned like France, Germany, probably England as well. But Spain are one of those that are capable of doing it, even though they haven't been labelled to do so. Like they're not the Spain of old, but they're still good at what they do. And like we say, I think their scoreline was similar to Switzerland. I don't think they really put in that kind of performance to justify the result, but they're still a good nation. You expect them to get, you know, a semi, something like that at least, and they're dangerous. I wouldn't want to play them as England. I don't think. I think they've
definitely changed their tactics because they won 3-0, but they only had 47% possession.
Has someone mentioned Lamine Yamal's 16 yet?
He's very young. He's even younger
I'm
than
going to
you.
mention it. Give it a chance. And yeah, Luis de la Fuente, who's Spain's manager, he's definitely changed up tactically. They're not the tiki-taka side that we always used to see. They've got a lot more directness in them. They're willing to use that.
So go long. What's go long in Spanish?
What is it?
Go longer.
I was just about to say that, but in an attempt to not be racist.
I might have to. To go is there, I think. To go is there. And what's long?
Anyway, while he thinks of that, Spain have that. They've got more of a extra, like a plan B compared to the tiki-taka style of world. Lamine Yamal. When you're 16 and your players are actively looking for you and trying to get you the ball, that means you're a talent already at that age. They did look. Let's say Spain looked good and probably could have scored more, but at the same time, let's say Croatia. I don't know how Croatia didn't score because they had some really good chances to score in that game. It was there's defensive. There's moments of defensive complete idiocy that they had. Apart from maybe the third, I think they could have dealt with the first and second goals much better. The third goal, maybe not. Yamal's cross for Carvajal was a belter. But you look at the penalty. They should have scored the penalty. They should have scored the open goal before the penalty, and then they shouldn't have been offside on the rebound for the penalty. Spain were ace, but again, it's one of those where how good were they because of how the opponents were. Similar to Germany, Scotland, obviously the Croatia are way better than Scotland.
Yeah, I think Morata's proof that international football is not quite as good because he's the third top goal scorer at Euros, but he's pretty much the worst elite striker.
Who's he behind, Nathaniel?
He's behind Griezmann, Lukaku, Mbappe, Kane, and Ronaldo. Wait, no, that's in World Cups as well. He's behind Platini and Ronaldo.
Yes.
Anyway, I've got my Spanish. Go is not fair. That means to see. I forgot it was irregular. So it's ir largo.
Yeah, largo. Nice.
Ir largo.
Cool. Well, we don't want to go too long, so let's move on to the next game.
Someone mentioned Lamine Yamal 16.
Yes, he's very young.
Apparently.
He's very good.
Luka Modric had already played at a World Cup before he was even born.
Crazy. I mean, Croatia, maybe they just finally are too old. Yeah. Albania have scored the quickest ever goals at a Euros, and then they went 2-1 down to Italy. And Italy don't look too great.
Again, it was another case of a big team somewhat flattering to deceive because they were playing Albania, who you'd expect them to get a few against. And while they did control a lot of the ball, again, they didn't do a lot with it, like England. When they had the chances to put them away, but they could easily have, like say, Albania scored straight away, and they could have easily pulled another one back at the end as well. They had a couple of chances near the death to easily caught score as well. A better team probably would have done, but again, it's a similar theme that's happened in this group stage between the major nations where they've somewhat flattered to deceive. I keep saying that. I need to stop saying that.
Yeah, and Italy coming from 1-0 down, they won the last Euros. Are they the favourites?
I don't think they are at all. I think I wasn't convinced by them. I was impressed by Albania, to be fair. But I just think Italy are one of those that, at the minute, in the last few years, especially, I think even winning the Euros last time, it wasn't their greatest team, and
they don't have that team anymore. A lot of their best players are gone,
and a lot of their best players from that point that were old at that
point.
Yeah,
Insigne, Immobile.
Yeah, no, I'm not convinced by him, but
Bonucci and
you can't also underestimate. You know, it might click for them at some point. I'm looking at Italy and the performance. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't be too worried as an England fan to play Italy at the minute. But no, I definitely won't have them in the favourites. I think they'll be knockout rounds minimum.
Yep. Perhaps we'll leave the Slovenia-Denmark game to the end, as that's who England are going to play Denmark next. Is that all right? Although, well done Slovenia, they got a point. First time in a long time they've got something at the Euros. So pretty solid.
Was Poland and the Netherlands that boring a game to you that you just skipped over?
I'm getting onto that. Poland, well, initially it was no Lewandowski, no problem. They scored from a corner. But I think the Netherlands, they came from a goal down. They played really well, I thought. Gakpo especially. Lots of chances. And so they're the new favourites.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this game. I think Poland gave it a really good go, and I think it was good end to end. I think Holland are one of those sides that you can never really predict at a major tournament, and I think this year it's still the same. Even after this game, I'm looking at them thinking they played well there, but you can see that there's holes in their game. You know, Poland with like we say, if there were better players were available, might have done a bit more. But look, it's Holland are one of those again. Like Italy, that they're perhaps not in the best shape that they've been in, but again, you expect them to get out of the group and get to a point where they could somewhat challenge somebody, but you can't see them winning it outright. But like you said, they're a strange one because you also couldn't rule them out of it, so they're a bit of an anomaly, Holland. But no, I think it was a really, really good game. It was one of my most enjoyable. I think it was end to end that game. We really enjoyed it.
I absolutely love Wout Weghorst. I think he's incredible. So I'm glad he got the winner.
When Weghorst was coming on, my dad said. Me and my dad were sat watching. He goes, "Is that Weghorst?" I was like, "Yeah, it is."
He was Burnley himself.
But was he the Man United Burnley one? I said, "Yes,
He's
Dad."
Still at Burnley. It's crazy. How is he still at Burnley?
Essentially, got that move to Man U based on his goal against Argentina at the World Cup.
Yeah, hasn't he been there 3 years?
Well, me and my dad both mocked the fact that Weghorst was coming on, and then he scored the winner and shut us both up.
Yeah,
They can finish. Weggy, love a Weggy. But yeah, again, another proof that if he's scoring the winner for Netherlands, surely international football is just not actually the peak of football anymore. It can't be. But yeah, Poland, I still think they'll finish bottom of the group. I think Austria might be better than them, but they gave a good showing, so maybe they'll scrape third.
For Poland, that's what
I predicted Poland to bottom as well.
For Poland, this is what happens when you don't put Kamil Grzycki on the pitch.
Yeah.
He'd have made a difference. Forget this Lewandowski fella. Who's he? Kamil Grzycki is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. So Romania, 3-0 winners, and that was a bit of an upset. But Ukraine, with perhaps we thought after the what's happened with the war in Ukraine, of course, maybe they'll have that motivation. But so, and Ukraine no longer the favourites. This is getting very old, isn't it?
I'd actually Romania the new favourites.
This was actually one of the very few games I didn't watch, but it was one of those when you see the result and you think, bloody hell.
Massive bell.
Yeah, Ukraine, it's like you expected Ukraine to be at least in the top two in that group, and on that showing you'd be surprised. But from the sounds of it and from what I've read on the match report, credit to Romania because,
two great goals.
Yeah, absolute belters. And then
goals were absolute belters.
When you get into these major tournaments as a nation like Romania, you've just got to give it your best go and just hope. And I think a convincing win like that in an opening game in your group stage gives you all the confidence. And they've put themselves in the best possible place to try and get themselves a shock entry into the knockouts. So, 3-0 win morale-wise, they'll be on top of the world. So they'll feel like they can give anybody a game now and see how they do in the tournament. And like Will's got them as his dark horses. Maybe they are.
Why?
I'm going to be as smug as I can for as long as I can.
Well, you can have your moment in the sun in just a second, but I will say it's in our group chat. I predicted Romania to be second in the group, but instead wrote Hungary and Serbia as my dark horses. I'm livid.
Well, it doesn't matter, does it? You didn't say Romania with the dark horses, and I said Romania with the dark horses. Maybe against my better judgment initially. But then it turns out it was a cracking choice.
Yeah. Who was the last team? Who was the last team for that Romania beat at the Euros? before Ukraine.
Probably England at Euro 2000, I'm
Yes,
assuming.
it was England, yeah.
I would have thought it was. But it was a Euro 2000, that's just how long ago it was.
Yeah, they were pretty good back
Yeah,
then.
Romania were ace. They were so good. Going
They
forward,
beat us in
defensively, they were solid.
1998 as well. Yeah.
Sanchu's first goal was a belter. The second goal, maybe Lunin could have done better with it, but it's still a good effort. They only had 28% possession, yet they looked like a much better side, which is weird. And it just shows how good they are. They'd only conceded 5 in qualifying, which is positive. They didn't get beaten in the qualifying group. They were in the same group as Switzerland, so there was a decent side in their group. And they were 5 points clear in the group. So they clearly had a decent record going into the tournament. You obviously look at the group they're in, you're thinking, yeah, Belgium's probably going to win that. Oh, well, no point wondering about who else is going to win in that group.
Group E is, quite another, well, 2 shocks there. Statistically, the biggest shock in Euros finals history. Although the most shocking thing about that is that Belgium are still ranked second because they have De Bruyne and Doku and Lukaku and Tielemans, and that's kind of.
Can you stop walking all over Romania's parade here?
We need to not wrap this up, but
why?
They'll get their time.
In the national anthems.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Romania, credit to them, they looked fantastic. I've gone with dark horses, but this is probably all going to fall down after it. But they have put themselves in such a good position because they won so comfortably as well to get through to the next round. They've got that goal difference as a result of it. They say there's a lot of fair play teams who are going to be very similar. But yeah, it was nice. And then obviously Slovakia thought, I like what you've done there, Romania. Hold our beer.
Yeah. Lukaku, bless him, missed 4 sitters against Croatia at the World Cup, and then his next tournament game, 2 goals disallowed and missed 2 or 3 big chances.
For a hat trick of disallowed goals. I said to him like if Belgium get it in the box and he was in 2 fans.
Yes, but at the same time,
get in.
Yeah,
at the same time,
hat trick. Does that
he
mean
was an idiot?
To keep the VAR?
Apenda's header was going in.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Apenda's header was going in, so he messed that one up. And then I love that second goal had the ultra edge from the fucking cricket on. Was that about?
Yeah, I think Belgium, like Croatia, probably just a tournament too late for them. Their golden generation's gone, and they need players like Tielemans and Doku, Apenda to get a bit more experienced and rebuild that team.
Okay.
Yeah, Belgium are one of those because they're a technical golden generation. Their starting 11's been absolutely brilliant, but they've never really had any squad depth, and that's what's cost them. I mean, in tournaments, if any of their main players were injured, they never really had anyone anywhere near the same standard to bring on. And that's where
their tournament was 2016, 2018. They were the 2 tournaments they should have. I mean, they got fared in the 2018 World Cup for being bad, but they lost in the quarterfinals to Wales in 2016. I think in that tournament, Portugal weren't the greatest side. They probably would have beaten them if they'd been on form. And then you play France in the final, gone either way.
Another example of a team that have got a really good squad of players, but never had the right manager to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
So France, again, they're one of the favourites. Only a 1-0 win against Austria. I think the most interesting thing is that Griezmann went off with a bang to the head and went off all bloody, and so did Mbappe. I think masked Mbappe with his broken nose is going to be unstoppable.
That's an understatement for Mbappe. He had his face smashed in.
He did.
Kylian Mbappe with a mask means he has fully morphed into a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
He has.
Into a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Mbappe, he's quite good, I think.
Yeah, he's
I'll
all right.
leave it at that.
They missed that sitter.
It was another game where, again, the better team did all right, but again, they didn't show what they're truly capable of.
I was going to say, there was a lot of similarities, I think, with the France game and the England one. A lot of the French fans weren't happy about their performance, and they won as well. So it's not just England.
Austria looked good. Austria looked very good. Really could have scored. And they'll be rightly upset as well because the referee, I thought, had a bad game. It was probably the first bad referee performance in the Michael Oliver actually wasn't great. But that's what a surprise. But it wasn't a good point referee, and obviously Austria nearly scored, and they should have had a corner from that really good chance they had right before France's goal. Which is like, it's just those fine margins decided. Like, Austria had plenty of good chances in that game. They could have taken one, and maybe against like a Poland or the Netherlands, they might take that chance. But obviously, when you play in France, have got that defensive like Saliba and in it, they're a good and Kante in front of them. They're set up to keep goals out pretty much.
He's got such energy, Kante. He's a great player to watch. He always has been. I think Mbappe with the Marcy is going to be like most players with the Marcy. I think they play better. He's going to be scarily good. Louis Carl, exactly. And then, of course, Turkey, who, as Sweden haven't qualified, they're going to be sort of my second team because of the whole City connection. 2 wonderful goals from Mulder and Gula.
Ada Gula.
Great goal. 3-1 against Georgia.
Georgia tournament, I think, already sorted.
Yeah, but Turkey, they played pretty well. And they're, if they get a point against Czechia, then they'll probably go through. But
you see, Turkey played well. But I thought Georgia was so unlucky. They were fantastic, I thought.
Georgia were really good.
2 great goals in Turkey. Are they the new favourites, Ant?
They'll be Adjun's favourites. I think
it was probably there. I would be surprised if he wasn't there.
Iman Tan will have been. I think, like Will said, this game I think was similar to the Holland and Poland one, where it seemed to be end to end. I think a lot of people expected Turkey to sort of bruise Georgia, and Georgia surprised everybody. But like I said before the podcast on this one, this just shows that you can play attractive, decent football with real purpose and cohesion when you actually have a system that players understand and believe in. And Georgia might not have the player quality, but some of the football they played was absolutely brilliant. And I think, coming to a tournament and playing that expansive, when you're a side that's not expected to really do anything, and is very brave and commendable. Turkey did what they needed to do. Like I say, a couple of wonder goals, and then obviously a goal similar to how we conceded against Leeds, where the goalkeeper goes up and trying to score, and then they've got an open goal down the other end. And, 3-1 flatters Turkey a bit because Georgia had really good chances. That one right at the death where
great
he stole it off his teammate and then it went wide instead. It will be agonising. He'll watch that back and absolutely
hit it off the line as well after hitting the post.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that goal line block as well. Literally just after it as well. Yeah, it's mad game, but I think Georgia will take confidence out of that and hope they can get some out of the next 2 games. And they're building up a little bit of a fan in me, Georgia. I'm going to root for them, I think. I really want to go.
They are the ultimate underdog at this tournament.
But yeah, like I said, if Georgia play better football than us, that's the worry.
And just accidentally.
I'm sick of him talking about England so much. I'm glad he's gone.
Oh my!
On Turkey quickly, my little description thing does say Abdush and Ozan would have made it 4-1 to Turkey.
I've just got Gula.
I firmly believe that is the case. And I've just been looking at the Turkey team, thinking, okay, which of them
are we going to sign? Yeah.
I think Mert Mulder is at Fenerbahce, so that one could very much happen.
I have a feeling Arda Güler might not be getting ahead of Bellingham in the team, and he might be good for a loan.
He might be primed for a loan to the Championship. You're right.
If we get into the Premier League, we are signing all of them.
Hakan Çalhanoğlu worked with Tim Walter before.
No offense, I don't think he's leaving Inter.
There was actually I'm pretty sure, I'll try and find it. There was a report saying that Adjun had actually asked about Arda Güler, and
he said himself
to get him on loan, but he said that he wouldn't come to us because we weren't in the Premier League, and then obviously got to move to Real Madrid, so that probably nullified that from ever happening ever. But he did have a question, and you can imagine.
As much as I love us, if I was offered Hull City or Real Madrid, I'd probably be on my way to Spain as well.
Yeah.
It's all right, we got Bora instead.
We'll be signing some of these players at some point. There's no doubt that at least one of the people in Turkey's squad now will play for Hull City in the future. There's 100%.
I don't want the keeper, though. I don't want the keeper.
Okay.
No. Don't want the keeper.
Yeah. And then
even the fullbacks, though, I'd have them. Orkun Kutcu, I'd have him. Arda Güler, please. Yildiz and...
Ozcan.
Sani Ozcan.
There's only one other game to talk about, but it's only been up for 5 minutes as we record this.
Portugal are one of the favourites. I have them as third
Portugal and
favourites. I think they've got
Czechia.
a very good squad.
Yeah, Portugal, I think when we went with the preview, we all said
look,
that
Czechia just scored.
They haven't.
No,
I can
I'm
see
joking.
it behind me on my screen.
Yeah, but
Nice
that'd be
try.
funny, wouldn't it?
I'd be dancing around the room as well because I want Czechia to beat Portugal personally. So I think Portugal will be. They are rightly one of the favourites, as we said in the preview. Because when you actually look at their squad, how can it not be a favourite?
Oh, they're just great. The only thing I think is Ronaldo going to kick up a fuss potentially? If he
That's it. Is he going to be a burden? Because they've been talking about that price that apparently in the Portuguese media has even come up. Like the team should be playing for the team and not for Ronaldo. And it feels like if Ronaldo's there, they're going to try and play for him rather than Portugal.
He's no Lamine Yamal anymore.
Yeah.
No.
He's 16.
Is it?
Really? Is it?
Yeah. So
should have mentioned that FIFA.
Did you know Will Still was getting fined?
No. So, Will, of course, you quite like Denmark, so I'll let you explain how cool it is Eriksen got his goal.
But before I get really happy with that, I'm just going to remind you as well. Remember, Kenilworth Road has an away end that goes through people's back gardens.
Does it?
Is it really?
Does that mean Luton are the new favourites for the Euros?
Possibly. Or possibly Denmark. Even though they drew with Slovenia, which was a bit anticlimactic because I thought Denmark actually had a very good game and probably should have killed that game off, and they didn't. They had plenty of chances to score. And he said, if anyone could have scored, the fact it was Christian Eriksen just made it so joyful.
Wholesome.
1,100 days after that game against Finland the last year.
Consider my heart warmed.
I was delighted that happened. I was also slightly delighted because I won on my sweepstakes as well, so that was an extra added bonus.
I think we should talk about Slovenia purely through the perspective that Adjan's buying Maribor and James Furlong's going to be playing in Slovenia all next season.
Yes, indeed he is.
To be fair to Slovenia, like I said that Denmark should have probably killed the game off them, should have been out of sight. Slovenia were resolute. They kept in the game.
Sheshko's good.
They made Denmark pay for their chances. So they clearly got something about them. And while I think England should do all right, you can't write them off.
Yeah.
Ant, if we beat Denmark, are we the new favourites?
I think just for the quality of players we've been a lot of other nations' favourites, but I think a lot of England fans might not believe the same sense. Listen, we've if we beat Denmark, like you say, we're literally through. I think even a point pretty much puts us through, depending on obviously the other game. But it's I think what we're looking for against Denmark now is improved performance. I think we need to instill a bit of confidence now in players and the fans again. Just get a convincing win, get the ball properly rolling, and obviously if it's 2 wins in a row with improved performance, it's showing that obviously they're starting to pick momentum up, and that's the important thing going into the knockout round. So let's see what Southgate picks for his next team. See who he drops, because it'd be interesting to see if he keeps Trent in the middle, if he keeps Foden out wide, but things like that. But yeah, no, me personally, I just want to see a nice entertainment. I want to come away from the game and think, you know what, they're really well there.
So I think last thing, do we have any score predictions for England-Denmark on Thursday? Will, I assume you're going to do something stupid, so I'll go to you first.
Oh, am I?
Sorry.
No, I was gonna go back to the old well of 3-0.
I thought
boring. Well, that's
3-0
stupid,
England.
Will. That's stupid.
No, seriously, I think it'll be 2-0 England. And Bellingham again and Saka.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be a more open game than the Serbia game was. I don't think Denmark will be as sort of constrictive defensively going forward. I think maybe Southgate will full on learn from the Serbia game in not sitting back, but I think we'll be a little bit more open in the second half to going forward. I think we won't sit back as much. It would depend, but obviously it depends who plays as well. Because if he makes any changes, who knows?
Joe?
I am going to go for Will's Old Faithful.
3-0.
I would have gone 2 had Will said 3, but I can't go the same as Will. So I'm going to, for a bit of variation, I'm going to go for 3. And I'll go for Bellingham. Bellingham, Palmer off the bench, and Kane.
Nice. So you think we're getting 2 penalties?
The Kane and Palmer are going to fight over the penalty, are they?
Yeah. And?
I'd 1-0 England, I think. It's just like it's standard Southgate England, in it. Like, you could have put your house on us being the lowest scoring game of the tournament so far before. And it just went that way, didn't it? So yeah, no, I'm not convinced by us going forwards quite yet. So, but another sort of get over the line 1-0 probably.
Yeah. Well,
hey,
I think
if we do 1-0 for the next 7 games, I'll be very happy.
I'll be absolutely ecstatic. But yeah, I think I don't expect us to be as bad as against Serbia. I think some of the players will just have a bit more legs in them and a bit of chemistry and maybe a bit more off the bench. And I think, yeah, football's coming home 0-0. So thanks to everyone who's listened. And we'll be back probably after the next England game to preview the all-important 3rd round of group stage games. Will, Joe, and thank you very much for joining. And we'll be back very soon.
Auf Wiedersehen.